The world is indeed a queer place to live. No one could have imagined some time back that some place, I mean, as far northern hemisphere as in Canada, someone is going to be experiencing a heat wave. I mean, just imagine, this is something that would have been unimaginable to the present generation. No one could have imagined that even in Siberia, the temperature can go on to increase to something like some 34-35 degrees centigrade, and no way that anyone can go on to think of having temperature reach 18 degrees centigrade in Antarctic as well. Incidentally, most of these places which have a very high temperature and experiencing heat wave of sorts, what is happening is that these are the places that have received some very low temperatures as well. And the temperatures in some of the Canadian region have reached, can you imagine, 49 degrees centigrade. And one of the hottest cities on the continent was in Oregon, Portland. Canada broke, incidentally, the national heat record on Sunday. I mean, that is in the first week of July, when the temperature of a small town in British Columbia, Lytton, reached almost 44 degrees centigrade, and that was the place. These are the places which have experienced such type of a temperature condition, and it has broken almost 84-year-old record by 3 degrees. The whole of this region has been under sweltering heat wave condition. And not to talk about it, the eastern portion of United States, the whole of this eastern portion of United States had been under a separate weather system where the temperature had reached 43 degrees centigrade as well. Now, if that was not enough, the heat in the Russian cities and provinces this summer in all of this region in Siberia have been on a record-breaking spree, because when the temperature on somewhere on the end part of June reached 35 degrees centigrade, then it was after 1901 one of the hottest days all in all. Moscow, incidentally, also went on to become very, very hot, and in their conditions it was actually very hot. The overall condition had been that the temperature conditions had been something like some 10-15 degrees higher than that. As the mercury goes on to reach to higher levels in Eastern Europe, countries like Bulgaria, Estonia, Romania, all of them are experiencing temperature up to 41 degrees centigrade. And the greatest irony is that all of these places in Europe, in Siberia, they have a temperature that is higher than that of Patna. It is higher than that of Rajasthan as well. This is what has been happening of late in these areas here. And these are also some of these places which have been experiencing, for example, United States, it has been Texas. Texas that received a very heavy snowfall, and the temperature was very, very low. The Arctic region has been warming twice as fast as the global average in this case. So what could have been the basic cause behind it? One of the most important causes in this case has been the existence of a heat dome. Now, heat dome is something like a large pool of air circulating over the whole of the atmosphere, high up in the atmosphere, somewhere around some 3 or 4 kilometers above the surface, like what you go on to see in this case. It's a high pressure center. High pressure, that means the pressure of atmosphere in this case is high. Now, anywhere where the pressure conditions are going to be high, the air sinks and subsides. So in this case, the air is sinking, air is subsiding. Now, as the air sinks and subsides, it goes on to get compressed. In the process of its compression, the temperature increases. So what, in the whole of the world, this keeps on happening. It must be in something like some millions of places that an anticyclonic circulation keeps on taking place. But then what makes it very, very different is that it is almost like that of a lid over the whole of the region. Lid means it's like a cover. That is, you can imagine that it is like a cover which is going to be very, very akin to that of you're boiling something in the water. and you have a kettle, you have a pot in which you are boiling it, and then you want to cover it from the top. Is it not that the water will go to boil fast? And this is what is happening in the atmosphere here as well. That is, the whole of this region has covered like a lead. And this lead is so significant, so important that it is not allowing the heat in the air, in the surface, to be trapped outside. And normally what happens is all the heat that is going to be there on the surface, this heat goes on to get itself escaping away into the space. Consequently, that's why the surface of the earth goes on to get itself cool. And there is an existence of a heat dome in Canada, which is experiencing such a high temperature. A small heat dome existed over the whole of a northeastern portion of United States as well. And of course, this type of a heat dome had been existing in other regions as well. That is factor number one. The second factor in this case is associated with what we're going to be calling it as a jet stream. Now, this jet stream is, as you can go to see it, it's a very high velocity meandering wind that covers the whole of the earth. See these meandering snake-like winds that go on to cover the whole of the earth, and these jet streams are aided by, and they are helped by the surface temperature. Whenever the surface temperature is going to be high, what exactly it can go to do and what it has done? What it has done is that it has transported some amount of energy of the atmosphere from one place and it has concentrated in another place. The temperatures, mind it, are not going to be aided by what we go on to be seeing out on the lower surface. The difference in the temperature of the sea surface between the Western and Indian Ocean, for example, aided by a jet stream, that is in turn, it is charged by the jet stream and causes low pressure and extreme late winter warmth over Eurasia. And that spills the whole of the spring and reducing ice and snow cover. And then there is a domino effect. This domino effect is that as the snow cover goes on to get itself vanished from the surface, then the surface goes on to get heated more. Why? Now understand that part. When the snow is going to be on the surface, what snow goes on to do is that it allows all the rays that are coming from the sun to be reflected back into space. And as they go on to get reflected, these rays that are reflected, they don't go on to take part in the heating of the atmosphere at all. Now what happens is, when the surface is going to be without any snow cover, what will happen? The surface will go to absorb it because there is nothing to reflect. So everything is going to be absorbed. And when it is going to be absorbed, it will raise the temperature. This is what has been happening in the Arctic region. And in the Arctic region, there is another factor as well. And that is what has happened in Arctic is the snow cover has lost. And because the snow cover has lost, the amount of melting that has taken place is going to be high. The whole of the surface has been exposed on the surface to the sun. And when the surface has been exposed to the sun, that has caused renewed heating. Now, once this heating sets in, then Arctic region beneath the surface has a lot of carbon. And this was a carbon that was fixed way back, some millions of years back in this place. So much amount of carbon has been fixed in this region. And because so much amount of carbon has been fixed, all this carbon starts getting itself released. Now, carbon is always going to be finding a reservoir in the snow. Lower the temperature, higher the carbon dioxide content. As the snow melts, the carbon gets released into the atmosphere. Really, that is increasing the carbon dioxide content. And if the carbon dioxide content actually goes on to increase, you can imagine what can happen. It leads to a set of domino effects in this region. So one of these domino effect is that of the jet stream that reaches the Arctic. And in the Arctic region, this domino effect is a loss of snow cover, heating of the surface, then the exposure of the peat, that the fire in the peat, the release of the carbon dioxide, and then in turn more and more amount of heating. This is one factor that is causing so much amount of weather aberration, and that is the major cause for such type of unusual weather phenomena taking place. But Supposing that this wouldn't have taken place, human beings wouldn't have played a role, is it that this weather phenomena would have taken place? Yes, very much possible. This is largely because in 1901, where was this so-called Western Hemisphere induced industrial affluents finding their way into the atmosphere? Where was that? That was, of course, nowhere at that point of a time. So why is it that it took place in 1901? It took place in 1901 because of the same atmospheric condition, same set of atmospheric condition. Of course, because of heating, we're going to aggravate it. We're going to invite it more and more of sorts. And this is an age where we're going to keep on shouting even more. And when we shout it, the social media goes on to exaggerate it as well to a large extent. So that's the basic reason that we happen to be hearing it as well. But then the potential is that we human beings are distinctly having this potential to aggravate such type of a situation, because we do not understand nature at all. It is only nature. It is, as far as anyone that is concerned who which understands the environment, it is nature. Nature knows best. And despite the fact that human beings do something or do not do anything, nature will keep on changing. Weather will keep on changing. Climate will keep on changing, because the only constant in nature is change.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.